iPhone video editors are awesome for quick TikToks and Reels, but can they actually handle a full podcast or YouTube video? In this video, we'll put the top 5 iPhone editing apps to the test: iMovie, LumaFusion, CapCut, Splice, and Premiere, to find out how they handle long-form, horizontal, podcast-style content. I'll walk you through each app, show you the results that we create from an actual podcast edit, and give you my honest take on whether it's worth using for your show. You'll find timestamps for each app below so you can jump straight to the one you're most interested in, and at the end, I'll reveal which one I'd actually trust to publish a full episode to YouTube and Spotify right from your phone. Welcome to PSS Creative Media. I'm Steven, and I help creators build professional video podcasts right from home. You can learn more about one-on-one coaching and studio builds at pss.media. For this experiment, we filmed an entire podcast episode using the iPhone 17, which was last week's video, so that we could have real files recorded on the phone to share with these apps. I'm really excited about how far these mobile editors have come. A few years ago, the idea of editing a full podcast on your phone would be ridiculous. But now it's actually possible, and that means that you can start publishing sooner. Because consistency beats perfection every time, so instead of getting hung up on that perfect edit, get 10 or 20 episodes out first, build momentum, learn your style, and then worry about mastering computer software or even hiring an editor later. So instead of running through and sharing a list of features from each app, let's dive straight in and actually edit together so you can see what it really feels like on each one. And then after we explore all 5, at the end of the video, I'll share my final take from the discoveries, frustrations, and results that we uncover together. And where better to start than with iMovie, which comes pre-installed on every iPhone. It's crazy easy to use, but let's see how it handles a real podcast edit. Okay, so let's crack open iMovie, the only free one on the list. Now, I think where iMovie really shines is with the magic movie at the top, and this will just create some cool slideshow, you know, those iPhone movies that iPhone automatically creates for you. But let's give this the true test for a video podcast episode for long form content by clicking on Movie. So let's start with the intro for this podcast episode by clicking on that file and choosing Create Movie. So one thing to notice right off the bat with iMovie is there are no audio previews here. And even if you click on it and say detach, which will detach the audio from the video, you still don't get to see the waveform previews. So in this case, when you're editing, you kind of have to watch the video to see where the person starts the line, right before I start speaking probably. So I can click into there and choose split. This part can just be deleted. And another drawback with iMovie is you just get the one view here on the timeline. I can't do the pinch and drag thing to expand on what I see in the timeline. That's definitely a bummer. But at least I have my trim functionality by clicking on the edge of the video and dragging it to the left. And you see the video actually updates as I drag. So I can drag it right into where I actually start speaking.
How do you make a podcast more interesting?
Let's make a split, and then let's make another split where I come back in with the proper line. Probably somewhere around here. Okay, we'll click here and press delete.
People working for us are better guests. But what if it isn't that you're...
So guests needs to come out a little bit more, so I could just drag it out, make sure that I fully pronounce the S there.
Guests. But what if it isn't that you're boring, but that you're filtered?
When it comes to actually treating what your image looks like, we have limited options inside of iMovie. We basically just have these filters that come with iMovie. And actually, there's some pretty cool ones. The one that I like is the blockbuster, and then you can just bring the intensity of it down so it's not too over the top. This kind of accentuates the teal and orange colors, makes it look a little more cinematic, and adds a little something to the video at least. But notice that when I do that, there's no option to apply this setting to all of the clips. So now I have to go through all of these clips that I made and apply the same setting that way. And remember the number that I put in, or it will look different. So knowing that, a better practice would be to adjust or add any of these filters to your footage first before you start splicing. Let's see what that looks like.
So today I'm sitting down with Veronica because...
When it comes to the audio, the only thing that I can adjust is the volume. And I thought this little clip would be the perfect example for that because the DJI Mic Mini microphone I'm wearing is plugged into the receiver into my phone, but I didn't have the receiver turned on. So you're just hearing the phone audio. The iPhone 17 does have some audio treatment that you can do from the photo library, but once you adjust anything in your photo library, iMovie won't let you import it into iMovie, which is also a pain. So now let's see how this handles a couple of advanced video podcast editing editing techniques. I'll go ahead and upload the actual episode between guest and host. And it plops it in there. This is a half-an-hour chunk. Any random clip will be fine. So as you can see, for a long form content, to not be able to do any of the pinching and zooming if you want something that's longer than a few minutes here in iMovie is going to become a little bit unrealistic and just a huge hassle.
The fact that you think that you are not worthy.
So right here, Veronica kind of says the a few times, a little staggering, really common. Staggering is a wonderful place that you can cut out a couple of those staggers and then maybe do an artificial zoom in to create this classic podcast active speaker view. So let's see what we could do here in iMovie to achieve that. So we just find the last time she says the
fact.
So without the audio there, it's really difficult to get this kind of precision editing here in iMovie. Again, probably going to be more of a time waste than it's worth. Oh, and I forgot, we need to add the visual adjustment before we get too far into editing. Now we can go back to the editing icon here where we can split and delete.
The fact that you think that you are not worthy.
Okay, and we'll call that good for this demonstration. Here at the end, do we have any transition options? Can we add a transition at the end? No? I don't see an easy way to fade out, which is really too bad. So it seems like if you were going to fade out, you would have to import some black video, maybe take a black video screenshot. So that's a little bit of a bummer. This transition here was automatic, which was fun. And I do have a couple different options for transitions. Let's do this fade, see what happens.
Podcast interesting.
How about a wipe?
Makes a podcast interesting.
How about a slide? You can make it shorter. Now we can add text, so we could experiment with a lower third text, for example. Let's try this one. We'll type in Veronica. Oh, here it is down here to edit the font type. Cool.
A $5,000 camera, a $20,000.
Okay, so then right there, this is where we could actually zoom in by pinching to zoom. And this is where we can kind of do our active speaker view effect with just one shot.
Fix the fact that you think that you are not worthy.
When that's done, it cuts back to the other.
Beautiful studio. But if you sit down and you...
Okay, so now that we're all done, since we're in this project, we can click on the share button here. I'll go ahead and export, save, or share the video here and see what options it gives me. Let's just save the video to my photo library. And that's it with iMovie. Let's check out the results and really pay attention to the audio and how there's a lot of noise going on in the audio. And there's really nothing I could do in iMovie to treat that audio. So today I'm sitting down with Veronica because nobody knows better than her, and we're going to talk about what actually makes a podcast interesting.
A $5,000 camera, a $20,000 setup is not going to fix the fact that you think that you are not worthy of the stage. Mm-hmm. You can spend thousands of dollars on building yourself a beautiful studio. But if you sit down and you feel like you are just not worthy, that you don't have what it takes, that you're not enough.
Okay, so iMovie actually surprised me. What did you think from the results? Definitely limited for a lot of reasons that we'll talk about at the end. But now let's hop into LumaFusion, the most complex of any of the apps on the list. But before we do, a quick word from our sponsor. Me! Have you heard about Podcast Your Way? It's our brand new adaptive podcast growth and learning platform that helps you to launch and grow a podcast on your terms. The free plan helps you entirely build a powerful podcast from scratch. From choosing and exploring high interest topics that relate to you, to deciding on your perfect show name, and to writing all of those important pieces of copy, your description and elevator pitch and tagline. It also generates a unique podcast cover for you. When you upgrade to the Creator Plus plan, you get access to the Studio Builder and Cart Builder that simplifies the whole process of choosing and ordering the gear that's perfect for your setup and your budget. Also get access to the Episode Builder and much more, as well as access to our Insider monthly live workshops where we do pod audits, we share the stage with creators like you. You'll work face-to-face with Veronica and your fellow creators to develop and grow your show. And if you're watching this before 2026, the Creator Plus plan is only $24 a month, and you can lock in that rate for life. So make sure that you go check out podcastyourway.com and try it out for free. All right, but let's get right back into the apps and dive into LumaFusion. Okay, and now next up is LumaFusion. Came very highly recommended to me from ChatGPT. All sorts of really cool professional video editing options. Let's check it out. All right, so we can create our first project by clicking Create Your First Project. Give it a name, Episode 36. You can choose your frame rate, your aspect ratio, and your color space right off of the bat. That's really great for a user who's more advanced with video editing to begin with. But if you just say create project, it will do it based off your first clip. Now we can find those same clips that we were using. This one was my intro. So if we double click on it, it will pop it into our timeline here. And notice right off the bat, we can see the audio, which for me is a big selling point for LumaFusion. Also with the pinching functionality, we can shorten our timeline, which is amazing and critical when it comes to editing long form content. In this way, without even looking at the video up here, I can go identify the precise moment, those precision edits where I would make my cut, where I actually come in and talk. Makes it a lot easier for me to find those moments in the edit that I actually need. So let's see, for example, here's like, so today we're talking to Veronica. It's probably right here. I can go ahead and split it. There's the scissor icon that will split. I click on the previous one. The trash icon will delete it. And let's see.
So today I'm sitting down with...
I mean, already I saved 5 minutes just in the same action with LumaFusion. Then I just go to the end here with the audio. Again, split, boom, and done. Being able to visualize the audio waveform is a huge selling point. So now we can come to the end here and import another clip. In this case, this is the full 30-minute episode. Let's find a nice little clip we can edit here. Now let's follow our same advice here in LumaFusion and see what options we have to adjust the picture of the footage here before we do any advanced editing. So if we click on the little pencil icon here, we actually see the clip that we're on, and we can go through the different presets here that they have. We also have different options down here for all sorts of professional things, the crop, the position. We can add keyframes, which is a fancy way of saying we can animate things any way we want. We have the speed and the reverse configuration. Here's some animations that are already pre-programmed for us. We have the audio situation here where we can look at some different audio effects. One of which I'm really excited about, is sound isolation. If we click on that, we see the sound isolation has shown up here, and we can adjust the parameters of it, maybe bring it down to about a 90% or something. And you'll hear when we preview this edit when I'm done with it, that gets rid of that background noise, which is amazing. And then here, of course, we can go through the effects or the presets that it has. You can actually key out, it has a background remover. Background remover looks pretty impressive, actually. It keeps grabbing the plant in the background, but it's pretty cool. So that's our color and effects section. Up here, we just have the color filters. These color filters are already a lot more professional, what you would normally see in like professional photography or videography. Really cool color filters right off the bat. And you can also adjust them manually, which is what I like to do. You can come down here, you have the brightness. I like to add a little contrast myself and maybe a little saturation sometimes, a little bit of vibrance, bring up the shadows or bring down the shadows. Your advanced color balancing here between your cyan and red, your green and magenta, and blue and yellow. I usually like to add just a little touch of blue and a little bit of magenta to our shots. That's it. You also have your tint and your gamma features as well. Now, I don't see any skin softening or skin touching up, but that's all right. Also, being able to see the audio feature here too, and being able to pinch in, check out the refinement of the editing with the trimming function. You can really trim right up to the beginning of the waveform, which is the beginning of when I pronounce that word so.
So what tips do you have?
All right, now let's see if we can add a cross dissolve to the end of this transition. There we go.
You here in my hand.
Awesome, that was easy enough. You just click the transition button. And now, since I didn't have my microphone on this one, let's check out this dynamics processor, which is a compressor, and see what that sounds like on my voice.
Better than her to talk about what actually makes a podcast interesting.
Pretty cool. So some advanced audio features in there. Compression, EQ, sound isolation, or what you could think of as noise reduction. Let's add a transition here. Let's add some text. Okay, and then I experiment with some keyframes here with the text to just simply bring the text in and out.
Tips do you have to get people over the...
Really cool that you can make keyframes and then adjust anything with the keyframes. Another example of a keyframe adjustment, illustrate that, is at the end here where I look in at her hand. We can click onto this, choose edit, and here with the keyframe icon, I can select a new keyframe, move a little forward in time near the end of the episode there, and click new keyframe again, but this time come down to size, and zoom in on it that way. Now, while I'm here on this keyframe, I may also decide to move the position around as well, like that. We can come back to the previous keyframe now by toggling with this back icon here, and you can see the animation that I just created.
You know, that I have view here in my hand. I have view here in my hand.
Some of the features here outside of the $30 that you pay, you'll have to wind up getting what is called the Creator Pass, which is $9.99 a month. And that unlocks a lot of these other features. So now this is looking pretty good. We looked at a few of those features. Let's go ahead and export this puppy. I'm guessing it's gonna be this share looking icon right here. We'll export it as a movie. You could do a GIF animation. Let's do movie. Select movie destination. Do you want it to go to your photos? Here it looks like it will allow us to publish directly to YouTube. We can share and airdrop it. I'm gonna drop it in my photo library. Here we have some options. 4K, standard, video quality, audio quality settings, all of that. I'll go ahead and say exporting there, and it's writing the movie. Now I did have this error here with Veronica in this shot that we created, and I can't seem to fix the error. So when you watch it, see if you could find what the error is and leave a comment. So today I'm sitting down with Veronica because nobody knows better than her to talk about what actually makes a podcast interesting. So what tips do you have to get people over the hurdle to actually start recording? It's difficult.
That I can sit here with my ego, my little me, and be this me, and I have to say things perfectly, and I have to sound smart.
About, and I like to like picture this, you know, that I have view here in my hand. I have view here in my
Okay, so did you catch the bit that I could not figure out how to fix? Let me know in the comments. LumaFusion is insane. I won't share my real and true feelings about it until the end of the video. For now, let's dive into the next and arguably most popular contender on the list, CapCut. CapCut. It wants me to log in. Now there is a free version of CapCut that you can try to get started on, and we can explore that here together. Just click on new video and we'll get cooking. This one is my intro. Go ahead and add that to it. Now, right off the bat, you'll notice that CapCut is very intuitive. One thing you will notice, however, is that we do not see the audio previews right off the bat, which is a little bit of a bummer for me. Now there is this extract audio option, and when you extract the audio, you do get the audio waveform visualizer this way. But when you split it, then it only splits the top one. So if you know of a way that you could sort of link these together to see the audio, let me know in the comments. Now you'll also notice that you can do the fun pinching zoom functionality here on the timeline, which is nice, to zoom out to a more manageable size or to zoom in. It really does suck not to see that audio though, I'll tell you what, because now where I don't know anything, you know? So you just have to watch your facial expressions, and it takes like 18 times the amount of time, but that's okay. I'll say delete here.
So today I'm sitting down with Veronica.
See what I'm saying? I would have been able to see that I repeat myself there if I could see the audio below. You'll have to excuse my complete annoyance. Like, who edits like this? Why? Now that I'm done complaining, let's look at some really cool features that it does have. If we look at the effects here, we have video effects, AI effects, and body effects. The video effects are really cool. All this stuff is still here for free. I have effects, which would apply some wacky and pretty cool effects, but what I'm looking instead is for the adjustment here. And with adjustment, we have all sorts of fun stuff. There's the auto adjust, which immediately is great right out of the box. I think it does a great job with the auto adjust, so I'm just gonna leave it there so you can check it out. There's also color correction. Because these have the diamonds on them, you won't be able to use them or export this video now because you're using a paid feature. But I'm gonna log into my CapCut account or pay for this so that you can see these, because it just looks really cool. Now the other big feature that CapCut has that we don't see on any other video editing solution on an app is the retouch option. You can retouch your face and even your hair. Wait a minute, can I do some of my balding? Too many people are using this feature now. Try again later. Aww, that's too bad. I guess I'm gonna stay bald. Okay, so here on the face though, it zooms in on the face so that you can really see what's going on here. And these things can be really fun, but you got to be careful with them. You don't wanna look too artificial, but you can go too overboard with it. And suddenly I just got a spray tan. Let's not go too crazy. What's up with the facelift? Let's just check it out. Oh, subtle but crazy. What's up with the de-wrinkle? Let's try it. Whoa, the wrinkles on my forehead totally disappear. Pretty crazy. And what's up with the plump? Plumps out those bags under my eyes. Makes me seem a little more plump and more of the 30 or 20-year-old version of myself. We won't do the plump. We can also reset and just go back to where it was if you ever need to start fresh again. With skin softening, less is usually more. You don't want to go too over the top with this stuff, but I'll do a little smoothing and let's clear out some of my blemishes. Why not? This will even out my skin tone. And then with that, we can press this check mark here and it has now applied a pretty cool color correction to this. Now, the one thing I didn't see with the color correction that I love, that I forgot to look for, is a vignette. I'm a big vignette guy. And look here, we have a vignette. Vignettes will create a dark or light circle around the edges. This way it creates that light kind of, I'm in a dream sequence look. And this one just kind of pops things out in the middle. So this image just got a professional style of color grading and skin retouching on it within seconds on my phone. That is how I'm saying that I can probably forgive CapCut for not showing me the audio previews because of how cool all the other features are. Now let's load in the other clip, the big long ass podcast episode file, and see how it handles that. You can long press and drag to change order. Thank you. Give me some little tutorial information. I appreciate that, Capsy. Can I call you Capsy? Split that, grab this, trash it. Oh, delete, boom. Notice how I could take the same adjustment now, it's an adjustment layer, and I could drag it over the top here. See, the vignette pops in, our skin complexion gets softened, and now all of that work I did with my color treatment and the skin softening and everything, I can wait till after my episode is all edited and then just drag that adjustment layer over the top of everything. How beautiful. And now let's take a look on how we can adjust and fix up the audio. We have an enhanced voice option or we have an audio effects. Let's click in there and see what we got going on. You have a podcast audio effect.
Because no one knows better than her to talk about what.
It's cool that you have those more stylistic, crazy effects too, like echo and everything that's just so accessible, so intuitive here. Here with the voice enhancer, we can turn it on.
Actually makes a podcast interesting.
I'm not a big fan of that. Let's just turn that off. And let's actually just look at the reduce noise feature here and turn it on.
What actually makes a podcast interesting.
That is really great. And with this podcast effect, it's really just adding compression and EQ. So if we turn the parameter of it down, it won't be so aggressive. And we'll just get a little bit of a boost, maybe some more warmth and drive to our voices. I think we'll just stick to the original here. There was some glitchies and some pops and some things, and I'm not a huge fan of any of that. Simply to be able to reduce the noise is huge, and this voice enhancer was also kind of cool, although I wasn't a huge fan of it either. Let's add an end transition by clicking on the end part of it. And why not something crazy? We'll add a transition here too, maybe that same one.
So when somebody.
There we go. And then here, if I wanted to, maybe we could try something crazy. Why don't we split here? I want to see some kind of a crazy thing that we can make happen. Let's go to effects. In this case, what I'm going to do is split the video here at my little intro part and then add a blurry effect to this middle section, and then use one of the many cool and intuitive text options that CapCut has over the top of a blurry background. And of course, add some cool transitions between all of the parts. The other thing you wind up having to do is fine tune your transitions by trimming to the left or the right. Other thing, of course, the CapCut has a ton of options with our media, like sounds and music and sound effects. You've got your music, you can just hold and click on it. It allows you to drag the music where you want it. And then we can kind of cut the music here and delete it. And then this, we can give it a fade. Fade it out like that.
So today I'm sitting down with Veronica because
And then another really important editing hack is anytime you're going to have a transition, especially one of these more creative ones like this, where we're seeing sparks or things being torn or film being moved through a projector or something, some sound effects really help to make that pop and work better. So we can go back to audio here and look for sound effects. And look, there's camera flashes. Let's see what that sounds like. Whooshes, transitions. You could even just type in camera and see what comes up. I like that one right there. We'll plop that in there and move it around to where it's perfect.
That's interesting. When somebody asks.
And then the other thing you could do is decide to kill the music right where that transition happens, and maybe your fade out would be a quicker fade out. Something like this. Right when we see things start to pop on frame there, that would be a good spot to add a little sound. So again, sound effects. Let's type in camera again, and we'll use a different one. That one's cool. Okay, but we're gonna want the volume of that to be down quite a bit. We don't want those sound effects to be too loud.
Better than her. Let's talk about what actually makes. When somebody asks,
That's cool. Now we can drag the music out just a little bit. That sound effect didn't come in quite at the right moment, so we could just drag it a little more like that.
Veronica, because no one knows better than her to talk about what actually.
And here maybe we want some kind of a text reveal sound effect in addition. Let's do that one. It's kind of dramatic, but we'll try it.
Talk about what actually makes a podcast interesting.
There we go, yeah. If we just turn it way down, it will probably be pretty cool. And if it came in just a little bit later, so this is ready to export. But you'll notice because I used all of these fancy CapCut features, I'm gonna actually have to sign up to be able to export. Thankfully, I have a CapCut account. Now we can go ahead and export this puppy. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it up to the 4K quality here and actually export it at the 4K so that we can compare and contrast the export that we get out of CapCut here. Let's go have a peek. This is taking forever, Jeeves.
So today I'm sitting down with Veronica because no one knows better than her to talk about what actually makes a podcast interesting.
When somebody asks, how do I make a podcast more interesting? What do you think it is that is really going on? What are they really asking?
What we're asking is, how do we make something that people will embrace? How do we make something that people will like? How do we make something that people will keep coming back to? How do we get people to like us? And that's...
Okay, so obviously CapCut is amazing for vertical videos, we all know that, but how do you think that it handled long format horizontal content? Let me know in the comments. Again, I'll be sharing my final thoughts about CapCut at the end of the video, but we still have 2 apps to review. Let's start with the next one, highly reviewed on the App Store, Splice. Splice. We gotta check out if Splice is nice. All right, now the first thing I notice when I get into Splice is just how similar it is to CapCut. Super intuitive, very well designed, maybe even a touch more intuitive and less overwhelming than CapCut. Here, of course, you can work with the different dimensions of your video. CapCut has this same feature as well, and you can just get to editing. But one thing you'll notice, we don't see the audio. Why? You can extract the audio, that's cool. They then get edited separate from each other, and it's because there is a lot of use cases to have the audio extracted. Sometimes you want the audio to keep playing while you have other visuals that you're showing. So you want to cut out your main visual. There's a lot of use cases for that. In this case, I'd just like to be able to see my audio so that I can quickly go to the part of the video that I want to go to without having to watch the video preview. And the video preview really shows me no real visual indication of when I get the right take or not in the way that the audio does. Please, can we do something about this issue? Let's see here what options we have. So the clean audio option is here, which is awesome. And it looks like it just did that for us.
Well, the first one would be, you need to start from where you are.
Sounds great. And did the clean audio also go here too? It did. What about here? So it looks like clean audio just applied to our entire project. That's a pretty cool feature. We have an AI color boost, guys. Let's try it out. Ooh, let's apply that to all. And let's just have a look. You can check it out in the export here in a moment, what the AI color boost looks like. And let's try out maybe some of that similar effect that we achieved in CapCut. Let's see if we can do that here. I'll mess around for a moment. Ooh, a glitch. Should we try one of these glitches, guys? How about a glitch? Ooh, but it did transition, however, unfortunately, the audio as well, which that is a use case of why we might want to extract our audio so that we could do some kind of crazy transition between that. So let's X out of that actually, and we'll come here and we'll say none on the transitions. And then here we might actually have to extract our audio, and we'll probably extract it from there too. So now the audio will not be involved in this transition. So now the video matches up to the audio, and we got that crazy ass transition in there.
So today I'm sitting down with Veronica because no one knows better than her to talk about what actually makes...
I liked that glitch. Now let's see if there's a video effect to where we can make me look all funky and weird. What do we have here, guys? Filters? A lot of cool filters. A lot of cool filters here.
Tons of filters, y'all.
The blur might be all we really need.
Come on, there's gotta be something crazier.
Effects. Video effects.
It's a podcast.
Aha!
So what are some practical tips?
Aha!
Tips.
Yes.
Podcast interesting.
Yes.
So what are some practical
Okay.
tips?
You got an old TV effect.
So what are some
Oh, look, and now we can just drop this effect wherever we want. Oh, how fun. Text.
Text animations.
Oh, you're naughty. You're naughty. Glitchy. I'm liking this bounce one. Hanging it is. And we'll add the text here. I'm going to just say it. What makes a podcast interesting? Maybe put a period there. Boom. Okay, now we need some glitchy sound effects. And let's go to see what they have in audio. Oh, look at that. Music and sound effects. I have to say, when I was first experimenting with Splice, what really got me was any app that includes fart sounds and also diarrhea sounds. And they don't just include fart sounds, guys. They have burps and they have like 5 different fart sounds, including a multiple fart. And even what they title a fart long squeaker. So the people at Splice have officially become my very good friends. However, this video doesn't have a use case for the fart, unfortunately. I'm just looking for some kind of a glitch sound. Okay, and then finally here with Splice,
Because it would be nice.
we're going to explore some music as well. So we'll say audio again. Let's go music. This is a new situation. Let's look at trending now. Punchy hip hop. Now, one feature that I really loved on CapCut compared to here on Splice, anytime you made a volume adjustment, it would go back to the beginning of the audio clip to show you the volume adjustment you made. Super intuitive, kind of making that assumption for you. So CapCut has a lot of these sort of assumptive editing features with the automatic snapping and everything that are just very intelligent and that make editing so much easier. Interesting innovation here from Splice, I really like it a lot, is that you can kind of see these different layers, indicators of the different layers you can switch between. Sharing the same audio preview track area without your timeline getting huge with a bunch of different layers, but you could still go between your layers. Very interesting. Cool innovation there.
But how in the hell?
Oh, look, fade. Boom. There it is. There it is, guys. Is there any adjustments with our face? There is a cutout, and their cutout option here, the background removal, I think is pretty cool and actually pretty nice. You'll see my guitar pops in and up there. Really pretty cool technology. A lot of fun effects you can do that way with the background removal. Mostly just for your vertical videos though, where you're pointing at some kind of screen that you're demonstrating or something. But also really cool for some like text effects and things that you might want to do on your episodes. So let's go ahead and check the exporting functionality here. I love that you can customize things. You can have a MOV file or an MP4 file. You can choose your frame rate and you can choose your resolution. So let's try the 4K and let's export this puppy. And let's go check out the exported video.
So today I'm sitting down with Veronica because no one knows better than her to talk about what actually makes a podcast interesting.
So what are some practical tips, some practical advice that you would coach somebody with if they're just getting started on how they can feel confident, but also actually make content that's more interesting?
Well, the first one would be you need to start from where you are. Like, you really need to start, like right now. Don't procrastinate it. Don't wait until...
Now let's move on to the last, but certainly not least contender on the list, Adobe Premiere. Adobe is phasing out the Premiere Rush app, which didn't really get a lot of good user reviews, and they're replacing it now with Adobe Premiere. This might be the one I'm most excited to check out, so let's dive in. Okay, last and next up, Premiere, Adobe Premiere. Check it out. Let's do a new photo from library, and we're gonna go to not this super creepy photo of my daughter as a skeleton pirate, even though that would make for a pretty cool video, but instead...
Let's find that intro. Puppies.
Now, is there anything that right off the bat, aside from the little pinching scrolling feature, which is really nice, that you notice that, I don't know, might be pleasing or nice? Maybe let me know in the comments. Do you see anything right off the bat?
There's audio! There's an audio visualizer! Yes!
Yes! Yes! Okay?
Yeah, I mean, come on!
However, we gotta unpack this still. We gotta still see how it compares, because I'm telling you, Splice, man, they had the fart sounds, they had the diarrhea sounds, they had a really fun, functional, snappy, trendy, modern, and hip solution. A lot of users, a lot of reviewers really love it. CapCut, an all-around winner. The skin softening, you completely can reconstruct your face. What can we do here in Premiere? I mean, already we can edit long-form content because we can actually see our audio. I can see now, I'm not looking at the video preview. What I'm looking at instead is down here. And I can see where I likely got that take. It's probably this one right here. But you see what I'm saying? I was able to pinpoint that one little chunk that I was looking for a lot quicker, within seconds versus minutes in the other platforms that didn't give me this simple to use and highly convenient audio visualizer feature. So now I can simply just go split, boom, delete,
Boom, I'm good to go, and boom.
Wait, let's see what's going on here.
No one knows better than her to talk about what.
Gosh, so nice. Now let's import that other clip. Okay, so to follow our own lessons that we've learned at this point, experimenting with all of these apps, it's probably best to look at your audio processing and your color processing first before you start all the clipping and the cutting and the zooming in. And that way you can ensure that you actually get your effects processed onto your footage so that you don't create more work for yourself afterwards. Let's take a look at what Premiere has for us, guys, in this department.
I don't see anything.
They have got to allow us to process the color on this at least. I mean, I can understand not having any skin softening, but the color?
Where is it?
Why can't I find it more easily than this? It was so much easier in those other applications. Why can't I just have a best of all the worlds all wrapped up into one pretty little app? Why? CapCut's really close, I'm telling you. CapCut almost takes the cake. If it just put these little audio lines at the bottom, that's all it would take. Please, can we do that, please? Okay, homies, don't worry, crisis averted. I simply had to log into my Adobe account. So you're gonna have to sign up for an Adobe account if you don't have one, and then check it out. All of these features just appeared. I mean, I was really upset and about ready to like start whacking myself on the head with whatever object I could find, or trying to stuff a TV remote in my butt.
No, Steven!
Now, there's looks. There's also the remove background feature, but I will say it's very wonky and does not look good at all. I mean, it's just really bad. So we're gonna restore the background. The looks are our classic LUTs that we have in Premiere. These are pretty cool. A cool place to start from, especially if you want to just get a nice little look for your shot. This one's pretty fun. Usually I will opt myself for just doing an adjustment, our contrast, some highlights, some shadows. We can go over to the color where we have our tint, our vibrance, saturation. Here you can actually color grade your midtones, your shadows, and your highlights. This is how you can get some really advanced, the exact looks that you want. The vignette here is the only vignette we've seen so far on the phone that allows us to actually shape the vignette and change our midpoint and the roundness and the feather of the vignette, which is cool. Let me illustrate that by just going all the way out with the black. And what we'll do here is you can see the midpoint now. You can bring it in and make a little circle. The feather allows you to make that circle basically like one of those Looney Tunes things, right? As well as the roundness, it can actually be a Looney Tune vignette if you wanted it to be. I don't know why you would want to go in this direction. I'm gonna undo all of that. I just like a little natural vignette here, but you can see that mid place. Perhaps it would be nice to take the midpoint a little away from us, a smidge, so that it never fully gets or starts feathering into our faces. We just kind of have this nice little vignette around the edges, and then, you know, we can back it off. But I really love this and have grown accustomed to this type of vignette customization by using Premiere on the computer. But it's really nice here on the phone, and that's good. Now, we don't have any skin retouching, at least that I can see quickly here. But we do have a way to enhance our speech. Enhance speech. Turn it on. And yeah, I don't think we need as much of the speech enhancement, which is going to be the EQ and the compression, but we do want to get rid of the background noise. Let's have a listen.
From the outcome. And it's easier said than done.
Let's see what kind of effects we can create that are similar to those other ones that we had going on. Don't see any crazy effects here or video effects actually in Adobe Premiere. And I don't think there are any in this application. Yep. Now, there is probably an effect to maybe blur it out. Even that, I'm not really seeing a blur out effect here, just these looks, which aren't really what we're looking for. So we don't have the same type of effects, but what we could do, and I split it right there to help me with that, is we could look at some Adobe stock footage. We could also look at our photo library and bring something in for that. And here I could even just put in like background, see what comes up with the Adobe stock, and see what we have that might be available to use. Background. But what we're seeing here is that the transition isn't working with this effect. So we'll have to get creative, and how we're gonna get creative is we are going to say extract audio. And then here we'll actually delete this altogether, and we're gonna plop this one in its place. Cool, so now when we add the transitions, it'll actually just transition the way it should. Let's do this bar wipe, and we'll add a title. You can add captions too. What makes a podcast interesting? Exclamation point. And we can look at the style, lots of different styles, kind of our popular phone looking styles. We could change the color of things, the fonts of things. You could slide it in.
To talk about what actually makes
Not bad.
a podcast.
And the outro, let's slide it out. There you go. So you get a couple very minor text animations, but that does help.
Better than her to talk about what actually makes a podcast interesting.
Now let's take a look at the sound effects real quick. I like this one because it's nice and short, and then we can drag it and actually kind of bring it to the beginning of the transition that we see and see what happens.
Than her to talk about what actually
Not bad. And can we duplicate it? Yes, we can. Then we bring it over here to the end.
makes a podcast interesting.
You record the thing.
Beautiful. Let's see what the exporting process is like. And we go ahead and click on the universal sort of share icon. We can choose 4K, 30 frames, high quality, export video. Let's go check out our Adobe Premiere export.
So today I'm sitting down with Veronica because no one knows better than her to talk about what actually makes a podcast interesting.
You record the thing, you post the thing, and then you gather data.
Yeah.
Completely detached from the outcome. And it's easier said than done. But when you get to a point where you don't care about, you don't attach your personal worth to the content that you make, it's beautiful, because then it's not about you, it's about your audience. It's about what they like. It's about what they're embracing and they're finding useful and helpful and enjoying.
All right, what did you think about the export that came from Adobe Premiere? Let me know in the comments. And now, as promised, let's move on to the final take. But I am very interested in knowing your take as well. So please leave some comments here and I will respond to them. Were there any of the 5 that were most appealing to you, the ones that you are most excited to hop into? For my final take, I'm gonna say if I just had to choose one, which one would it be? And I think the easiest way to do that is the process of elimination. So first off, we gotta scratch iMovie right off the list. Now that's for many reasons, just not enough functionality, but mainly it's because we can't do the pinch and zoom thing, and it's obviously not really meant for any long form content. It's more designed for our memories and those iPhone movies that it will make automatically for us.
No surprise there, right?
Now the next one we could scratch off the list is LumaFusion. I do think it's amazing how many professional features it has, but I think the learning curve is too steep for many of us. And I feel like once you're getting into that game and that realm of having that many features unlocked, that you may as well just be on a computer. Perhaps the LumaFusion app on an iPad would be a better experience. When it comes to the iPhone editing, it's just too much packed into too little of a real estate there, and it's not user-friendly enough for what we're after right now. We want simple, we want easy. If we're gonna get into the professional world and really unpack our editing chops, we're gonna get onto a computer anyway. And if that was the case, we would probably just use a professional solution like Adobe Premiere or even the CapCut app on the computer. Now, the other 3 contenders are very close and it is very hard to choose. It's probably not gonna surprise you which one I would choose. And it probably also won't surprise you if you watched through all of my frustrations with each of the apps, why I would choose this one. But this is not an easy decision. The one I would choose is Adobe Premiere. I have to say though, I'm excited to see what kind of innovations and extras that they continue to add to the app, because right now, in a lot of ways, it does fall short to CapCut and to Splice. But there's that one feature, the one deal breaker for CapCut and Splice, is that we don't have an easy way of visualizing our audio. If either one of those apps at any time, maybe shortly after I've published this video, they will make that update. If they were to allow us to visualize the audio waveforms, they would beat out Adobe Premiere in a heartbeat. Both Splice and CapCut were so user-friendly. They had so many cool features, so many cool effects. Perfect for vertical videos, perfect for short-form content, absolutely. But if you're gonna be sitting down and actually trying to trim out and cut out certain parts of your podcast episode and maybe zoom in on little things here and there, you've got to see those audio waveforms. Trust me, it's just too difficult to do any kind of precision editing and to trim or cut or find the places that you want to cut into without being able to see the audio. I also noticed from my own observation that the export that I got from Adobe Premiere seemed to be the highest quality. I did also really appreciate all the options from Splice and CapCut, and if you were to go with either one of those options, I think you'd still be in really good shape. Now, perhaps the ultimate option for you here is to combine a couple of them together. Use CapCut to create really cool intros and effects and little CTA pieces that you can export as little clips or videos that you can add to your full-length episode that you edit in Premiere. The other reason you might decide decide I'm just gonna use CapCut over Premiere is if you really want that skin softening and that skin retouching, which is something I'm actually a really big fan of. And if it's gonna make you feel more confident to put your content out there with a little bit of a smoothing on your complexion, then go for it. The thing that I think is most important to remember right now is to grow in phases, to look at the exciting technology that this affords us, the fact that we don't have to have excuses anymore, anything that's getting in the way of us actually posting and publishing our content. Because it's important to remember, what makes you actually a podcaster is when you hit publish. Everything else is just planning. Everything else is just thinking. The execution, the podcasting, it starts the moment you hit publish. And we've seen time and time again, people with thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment, people who can afford a huge budget for editors, people who do have the editing capabilities and the full experience in audio and video production, they still don't pull the trigger on their podcast. Now, if this is you and you're having a lot of hesitations and you just can't seem to get yourself to record anything or to publish anything or share it with anyone, check out this video here where I unpack what's really going on with us, the real reasons that we don't publish our podcast. If this doesn't get you podcasting today, well, I'm not sure what will.